They're based on sightings, photographs, and evidence. These are the sea monsters that might actually be real. Welcome to the Purple Files. If you enjoy our videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get right into it. We begin with the undisputed king of all sea monsters, a creature so powerful and so terrifying that it haunts our collective imagination. But this is not a myth or a legend. This monster was very, very real. Its name is Megalodon, and for millions of years it was the apex predator of all the world's oceans. A 60-foot-long shark with a bite force strong enough to crush a whale's skull. The official scientific consensus is that the Megalodon went extinct around 3.6 million years ago. But the terrifying question that places it at the top of our list is, what if the scientists are wrong? What if this perfect predator never actually left? For nearly 20 million years, the Megalodon dominated the seas. It was a creature of incredible scale, with teeth the size of a human hand and a body more robust and powerful than a modern great white. Fossil evidence shows it was a cosmopolitan species, found in the oceans all over the globe, where it hunted large prey like whales, dolphins, and giant sea turtles. Its extinction is believed to have been caused by a cooling climate, which lowered sea levels and disrupted the nursery grounds where it raised its young. As its primary food sources, the medium-sized whales, began to decline or move into colder polar waters where the shark could not follow, the greatest predator the world had ever known simply starved into oblivion. That is the official story. The evidence for its survival, however, is tantalizing and deeply unsettling. In the 1870s, the research vessel HMS Challenger dredged up Megalodon teeth from the deep Pacific that were initially dated to be as recent as 10,000 years old. While that dating has since been disputed, it ignited the modern theory that the shark could have survived into the age of Humes. The stories continued into the 20th century. In 1918, terrified crayfish fishermen in Australia reported an encounter with a ghostly white shark of such impossible size, they estimated it to be over 100 feet long, that they refused to return to their fishing grounds. Other sailors and fishermen have reported seeing sharks far larger than any known great white, often in deep, offshore waters. The most compelling argument for its survival is the simple fact that we have only explored an estimated 5% of our planet's oceans. The deep sea, particularly trenches like the Mariana Trench, remains almost completely unknown to us. It is a stable environment where a large predator could theoretically survive, hidden from our view. While mainstream science remains firm that Megalodon is gone, the possibility lingers. The thought that a creature that massive, that powerful, and that ancient could still be silently hunting in the crushing darkness far beyond our reach is more than just a campfire story. It is a terrifying question about what monsters may still be lurking in the vast, unexplored abyss. For centuries, sailors have told stories of the Kraken, a sea monster of such immense size that it could be mistaken for an island. A beast with tentacles so powerful, it could wrap around an entire ship and drag it and its crew to the bottom of the ocean. For most of history, these tales were dismissed as drunken fantasies or the superstitions of uneducated men. The Kraken was a myth, a symbol of the terrifying and unknown nature of the sea. But what makes this monster so uniquely frightening is that, unlike others on this list, we now know for a fact that the Kraken is real. We just call it by a different name. The creature that almost certainly inspired the legends of the Kraken is the giant squid. First documented by science in the mid-1800s after several washed ashore, the giant squid is a true monster of the deep. It can grow to lengths of over 40 feet, has eyes the size of dinner plates, the largest in the animal kingdom, and possesses 10 powerful tentacles lined with sharp, serrated suckers. For over a century, everything we knew about them came from dead or dying specimens found on the surface. It was not until 2004 that a living giant squid was finally photographed in its natural deep-sea habitat. A ghostly, intelligent predator lurking in the darkness. But the horror does not stop there. In the deep, cold waters of the Antarctic, there lives another, even more formidable beast, the colossal squid. While it is not as long as the giant squid, it is far heavier and more powerful, with a massive tank-like body and tentacles armed not just with suckers, but with swiveling, razor-sharp hooks. We know even less about the colossal squid than its giant cousin, as no adult male has ever been found. We have seen the scars their hooks leave on the bodies of sperm whales, their only known predator, which tells us that titanic battles are being fought between these two monsters in the pitch-black abyss. The might-exist question for the Kraken is not if it exists, but how big it can truly get. We have only explored a tiny fraction of the deep ocean, and we have no idea what the upper size limit for these creatures is. The 40-foot specimens we have found could just be juveniles. The terrifying truth is that the ancient sailors were right all along. There really is a monster down there with tentacles capable of tearing ships apart. We just haven't found the biggest one yet. In the summer of 1997, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, was using a network of underwater microphones to monitor deep-sea volcanic activity. This network, a remnant of the Cold War designed to listen for enemy submarines, had picked up strange sounds before, but nothing could have prepared the researchers for what they recorded on May 19th. From a remote point in the deep Pacific Ocean, their hydrophones detected a sound that was, and remains, one of the most terrifying and mysterious audio recordings ever captured. It was given the simple, chilling name, the Bloop. The sound itself was unique for several reasons. First, it was of an ultra-low frequency, yet it was incredibly powerful. It was so loud that it was detected by sensors over 5,000 kilometers apart. Second, its acoustic profile was not that of a volcano, an earthquake, or a man-made object like a submarine. The sound had a rapid, organic-sounding variation in frequency that was highly characteristic of a biological source. The problem was, based on the volume of the signal, the creature that made it would have to be many times larger than the blue whale, the largest and loudest animal known to exist on Earth. For years, the origin of the bloop was a complete mystery, fueling endless speculation. The location of the sound was eerily close to the coordinates given by the horror writer H.P. Lovecraft for his fictional sunken city of R'lyeh, home of the monstrous, godlike creature Cthulhu. A coincidence that only added to the legend. Was this the sound of a colossal, undiscovered sea monster, a true leviathan from the abyss, calling out from the darkness? For a brief, terrifying period, it seemed that science had finally found proof of a real-life monster of impossible scale. In 2005, NOL proposed a more scientific, though still unconfirmed, explanation. They now believe the sound was likely caused by a massive icequake in Antarctica, the sound of a glacier cracking and breaking away from the ice shelf. They claim the acoustic signature is similar, but the biological profile of the original sound has never been fully explained away, and the official explanation has not been definitively proven. The terrifying possibility remains that for a few brief moments in 1997, we overheard something we were never meant to hear. The voice of a creature of truly monstrous size, lurking in the unexplored depths of our own planet. There is no sea monster more famous, more iconic, or more beloved than the creature said to inhabit the cold, dark waters of Loch Ness in Scotland. Nessie, as she is affectionately known, is a global phenomenon, a legend that has captivated the world for nearly a century. But the story is much older than that. Legends of a water beast in the loch go back over 1,500 years, to the time of St. Cull. The modern legend began in 1933, when a new road was built along the shore of the loch, leading to a massive spike in sightings of a strange creature in the water. The descriptions have remained remarkably consistent over the decades: a large, bulky body, a long, serpentine neck, and a small head, often with one or more humps seen moving through the water. This description perfectly matches that of a plesiosaur, a type of long-necked marine reptile that lived during the age of the dinosaurs and was thought to have gone extinct 65 million years ago. The prevailing theory among believers is that a small breeding population of these prehistoric animals became trapped in the loch as the waters receded after the last ice age and have managed to survive there in secret ever since. The evidence for Nessie's existence is voluminous, though highly controversial. There are thousands of eyewitness accounts from credible people, including doctors, lawyers, and priests. There are grainy videos, strange sonar readings showing large moving objects in the deep, and of course, the photographs. The most famous, the 1934 surgeon's photograph, which appeared to show the creature's head and neck, was later revealed to be an elaborate hoax. However, other photos, like the one taken by Tim Dinsdale in 1960, have been analysed by experts and are not so easily dismissed. And skeptics argue that the loch is too cold and does not have enough fish to support a population of large, air-breathing reptiles. They claim that sightings are nothing more than misidentified logs, boat wakes, or even swimming deer. But the loch itself is immense, over 22 miles long and nearly 800 feet deep, with water so dark and murky from peat that visibility is almost zero. It is a perfect place for a monster to hide. While the scientific community remains unconvinced, the question lingers: could a remnant from a lost world, a living dinosaur, truly be hiding in the dark, silent waters of a Scottish lake? Most sea monsters on this list are ancient legends or serpentine beasts, but our next entry is something far more modern and far more disturbing. It is a creature that is not reptilian or fish-like, but chillingly, unnervingly humanoid. It is called the Ninjen, a Japanese word that simply means human, and it is a cryptid that embodies a unique kind of uncanny valley horror. The stories did not come from ancient sailors or folklore, but from the crews of modern, high-tech Japanese whaling research vessels navigating the icy, remote waters of the Antarctic Ocean. The first reports of the Ninjen began to circulate on internet forums in the early 2000s. The accounts, attributed to anonymous crew members, described encounters with a truly bizarre and massive creature. They claimed to have seen a completely white life form estimated to be between 20 and 30 meters in length. At first, they would mistake it for a foreign submarine or an iceberg, but as they got closer, they would realize it was alive. The creature was said to have a vaguely human-like shape with a recognizable torso, arms, and legs. Some reports even claimed it had 5-fingered hands. The descriptions are deeply unsettling. The Ninjen is said to be a smooth, blubbery creature with no discernible facial features apart from 2 massive eyes and a slit-like mouth. It is primarily nocturnal, appearing at dusk and moving through the icy waters with a strange, deliberate motion. There are no known, verified photographs of the creature. The few images and videos that claim to show the Ninjen are blurry, inclusive, and widely believed to be hoaxes. Google Maps satellite images have occasionally captured strange white shapes in the southern oceans that believers claim could be the creature, but these are impossible to verify. Skeptics have proposed numerous explanations. The Ninjen could be a misidentified known animal like an albino whale, a giant ray, or even a new species of undiscovered pinniped. The humanoid features could be a simple case of pareidolia, the human brain's tendency to see patterns, especially human-like forms in random shapes. But the consistency of the reports from different alleged witnesses is what makes the Ninjen so terrifying. The thought of a massive, pale, semi-humanoid creature swimming silently in the coldest, most remote ocean on Earth is a uniquely modern and deeply disturbing nightmare. From the frigid waters of Alaska down to the sun-drenched coasts of California, there have been stories for centuries of a great sea serpent. The indigenous peoples of the region have legends of a creature they called Hiachakalak, but today it is known by a different name, one given to it by a newspaper editor in the 1930s. It is called Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, and it is North America's most famous and most compelling sea monster. The creature is a classic sea serpent with a description that has remained remarkably consistent across hundreds of sightings. Witnesses describe Caddy as being a long, serpentine creature, anywhere from 40 to 70 feet in length, with smooth skin that is either brown or dark green. Its most distinct features are a series of humps or coils that are seen moving through the water, and a head that is described as being strikingly similar to that of a horse or a camel, with a long, graceful neck. It is said to have small, forward-facing flippers and a powerful tail that allows it to move through the water at incredible speeds. The sightings are not just historical. Reports of Caddy continue to this day from fishermen, sailors, and coastal residents. While eyewitness accounts are plentiful, what sets Caddy apart from other sea serpents is the tantalizing physical evidence. In 1937, a truly remarkable discovery was made. The carcass of a strange, 10-foot-long juvenile creature was pulled from the stomach of a sperm whale that had been brought to a whaling station in British Columbia. The creature had a long, serpentine body and a distinctly horse-like head. Photographs were taken of the carcass and samples were allegedly sent for analysis, but they have since been lost. The photos, however, remain. Skeptics have tried to explain Caddy as a misidentification of known animals, such as a group of sea lions swimming in a line, a frill shark, or even a large oarfish. But none of these explanations fully account for the unique combination of features described by witnesses, nor do they explain the strange carcass found in the whale's stomach. The evidence suggests that something unknown is patrolling the Pacific coast. The Cadborosaurus represents one of the most credible cases for the existence of a true sea serpent, a living relic from a prehistoric age, hiding just off our own shores. The deep, water-filled sinkholes of the Bahamas are known as blue holes. They are entrances to a vast, dark, and almost completely unexplored network of underwater caves that honeycomb the limestone bedrock of the islands. To scuba divers, they are a place of incredible beauty and extreme danger. To local legend, they are something far more terrifying. They are the lairs of a monster. It is a creature known as the Luska, and it is a cryptid that blurs the line between a known animal and a mythological beast of impossible scale. The Luska is most often described as a gigantic octopus, but one that is far larger, more aggressive, and more intelligent than any known species. Legends claim it can grow to over 75 feet long, with tentacles thick as tree trunks. But other accounts describe something even stranger. A hybrid creature with the tentacles of an octopus but the sharp-toothed mouth of a shark, or a body that can change shape and color at will. It is said to be a creature of pure malice, an ambush predator that lurks in the dark mouths of the blue holes, waiting for its prey. The stories blame the Luska for the disappearances of swimmers and even entire boats. The legend says that the creature creates a powerful whirlpool to suck its victims down into its underwater lair, from which there is no escape. While these tales are likely exaggerated, the core concept of a giant octopus living in these caves is not entirely implausible. The blue holes are a rich marine environment, and they are connected to the open ocean through a labyrinth of submerged passages. It is conceivable that a large cephalopod could use these caves as a hunting ground. The most terrifying part of the Luska legend is how it preys on our fear of being trapped. The idea of being pulled from the bright, sunny surface down into a dark, narrow underwater cave by a mass of powerful tentacles is a uniquely claustrophobic and primal horror. While there is no scientific evidence for a monster octopus in the Bahamas, the blue holes themselves remain a mystery. We have no idea how deep they go or what strange, ancient forms of life might have adapted to live in their permanent darkness. The Luska is the monster that represents the terrifying unknown that lies just beneath our feet. The rugged, windswept coastline of Cornwall in the southwest of England is a place steeped in myth and legend. It is a land of pirates, smugglers, and ancient folklore. It is also the home of its very own, very persistent sea serpent. It is a creature known to locals as Morgore, a name from the Cornish language that means the sea giant. For over 100 years, the Morgore has been Cornwall's most famous and enigmatic resident, a monster that appears for a time, captures the public's imagination, and then vanishes back into the depths. leaving only mystery in its wake. Sightings of the Morgore date back to the late 1800s, but the legend truly took off in the mid-1970s. In 1975, and again in 1976, a series of sightings occurred all along the Cornish coast, from Falmouth Bay to the Helford River. The descriptions provided by various witnesses were remarkably similar. They described a long, black or dark brown creature with a serpentine body, a long neck, and several humps that would rise and fall in the water. Some witnesses claimed it had a small head with bristle-like spines running down its neck. What catapulted the Morgore to international fame, however, were two photographs. In 1976, an anonymous woman, who referred to herself only as Mary F., sent two photos to a local Falmouth newspaper. She claimed to have taken them while walking along the coast, and that she was so frightened by the experience that she did not want her real name used. The photos are blurry and indistinct, but they appear to show exactly what the eyewitnesses had been describing: a dark, long-necked creature with humps on its back. The photos caused a sensation and remain some of the most debated pieces of cryptid evidence ever produced. Skeptics have argued that the Morgore is nothing more than a misidentification of a known animal, like a sea lion or even a floating log. The photos have been dismissed as fakes, perhaps showing a cleverly manipulated eel or even a clay model. But the sightings, often by multiple witnesses at once, have continued sporadically over the years. The Morgore is a classic regional sea monster, a beast that is tied to a specific place. It is the idea that a local community could be sharing its coastline with a creature unknown to science, a sea giant that has managed to remain hidden for centuries. In September of 1808, a powerful storm lashed the Orkney Islands off the northern coast of Scotland. When the storm finally passed, a local farmer walking along the beach on the island of Stron made a startling discovery. Washed up on the rocks was the massive, decomposing carcass of a creature the likes of which no one had ever seen before. The discovery of what would come to be known as the Stron Beast would spark a scientific debate that has lasted for over 200 years, and it remains one of the most compelling historical cases for the existence of an unknown sea monster. The carcass was enormous. Although it was incomplete, measurements were taken that put its original length at 55 feet. It had a long, slender body and a remarkably long, thin neck that was over 15 feet long on its own. The creature's skin was described as being smooth when stroked from head to tail, but rough when stroked in the opposite direction, and it appeared to have a mane of bristle-like hairs running down its back. It had 3 pairs of leg-like appendages or flippers. The local naturalists were baffled, and sketches and descriptions of the beast were sent to the top scientific minds in Edinburgh. The scientific community was immediately divided. Some believed it was a new species, an unknown type of great sea serpent, and they gave it the scientific name Halsidrus pontopidani, or Pontoppidan's sea snake. Others were more skeptical. The anatomist Sir Everard Home argued that the carcass was simply the heavily decayed remains of a basking shark. Basking sharks are massive filter feeders, and as they decompose, their lower jaw and gills often fall away, leaving behind the spine and skull, which can give the appearance of a long neck and a small head. This basking shark theory is the one most widely accepted today. However, the original eyewitness accounts contain details that do not fit with a basking shark. The 55-foot length is much larger than any known basking shark, and the description of 3 pairs of flippers does not match. The sketches made at the time show a creature that looks far more like a classic plesiosaur than a decayed shark. Because the original carcass was lost to time, we will never know for sure. The Stron Beast remains a historical enigma, a 200-year-old monster mystery. A creature that washed ashore, baffled the greatest minds of the day, and then disappeared, leaving only questions behind. We end our list with what is without a doubt one of the strangest, most bizarre, and most baffling cryptid encounters ever recorded. It is a story so absurd that it was dismissed as a hoax for decades, a forgotten piece of folklore that was simply too weird to be true. The story takes place in 1924, off the coast of Margate, South Africa. What witnesses on the beach saw that day was not just a monster sighting, but a full-blown monster battle. The creature they saw has since been given the affectionate and utterly ridiculous name Trunko. According to an article published at the time, eyewitnesses saw a massive, snow-white, furry sea creature locked in a ferocious 3-hour battle with 2 killer whales, or orcas. The strange beast was said to use its tail to attack the whales, and it reportedly leapt 20 feet out of the air during the fight. The most bizarre detail, however, was the creature's head, which was described as being like an elephant's trunk. Eventually, the strange creature washed ashore, apparently dead. It was a true globster, an unidentified organic mass that washes up on the shoreline. The carcass lay on the beach for 10 days, but, incredibly, no scientist ever came to examine it. The eyewitnesses who did get a close look provided a description that only deepened the mystery. The creature was 47 feet long, 10 feet wide, and had no discernible head. The trunk was said to be attached directly to its torso. Its body was covered in thick, white fur, and its tail was described as being like a lobster's. After 10 days, the tide washed the globster back out to sea, and with no scientific analysis, the story of Trunko faded into obscurity, dismissed as a tall tale. For over 80 years, that is where the story ended. But in 2010, German cryptozoologist Markus Hemmler uncovered a series of previously unknown photographs of the alleged Trunko carcass, taken back in 1924. The photos show a massive, pale, fibrous mass lying on the beach, a formless blob that gives no clear indication of what it could be. Modern theories suggest it was the decomposing body of a whale, its blubber and collagen forming a tough, furry-looking outer layer. But the eyewitness accounts of the battle with the orcas have never been explained. Trunko remains the weirdest monster on our list, a furry, trunked enigma that fought whales and then vanished, a true testament to how strange the ocean can be. And that is it. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the Purple Files, click the like button, and drop a comment down below. More videos to come, and until then, thanks for watching.